You are listening to Glorious Morning, the breakfast show with a difference. Right here on AWR SIDmedia, from broadcast to baptism.
That's exactly where you're at, Adventist World Radio, giving you nothing but the very best in Bible-based content, and trusting that we find you well this morning. And welcome to our Prophecy Today feature, where we are looking at factions and speculations in the Christian world. And this is a discussion that we'll be having not by ourselves. We'll be having our guest joining us in just a short while, Mr. Mlilo Busani. And we are saying this morning, as we consider this segment, a lot has transpired, has happened over the past 100 years or so, that has painted Christianity generally in a very bad light over the years, right? And that has tainted its outreach and its ministry. And we are saying this morning, be that as it may, a lot has also happened in secularism, right? As well, that has made the world appear ungovernable, right, from that context. And so we want to have a chat about these two extremes that are fast bringing the world into crossroads. But sometimes human over rectify, right? That's what humanity does. Over rectify and creating more problems as opposed to less in spirit of we want to fix the traumas and the mistakes of the past, all the while creating new issues, or in hindsight, repeating the evils of the past. And sometimes that becomes a challenge, right? That as we do this, we would want to be very careful how we address the challenges of yesteryear, because our challenge is when we try to fix something, we overfix, if there is such a thing, and we end up with a bigger problem than when we started. Or if at best we end up right where we began this challenge that we're trying to address. So this is our conversation this morning. Looking forward to hearing you come through and share with us coming on this discussion here. Our Prophecy Today feature, and our guest is Mr. Mlilo Busani. We're just waiting for him to come through and join us. I see his camera is not on. Mr. Busani, do we have you on the line? Brother Busani? Hi, Brother Busani. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
No, we're doing okay. Thank you so much. I see that your camera is off.
Is my camera off? Let me see what's happening here.
Just check that, and maybe the settings. I'm not too sure. To be good to have a conversation face to face, even though it is virtual, as we go to this study together this morning. If you are joining us on as Mr. Busani sets up his technical issues there, we want to just invite you to stay connected with us and engage us on this discussion as we look at this very important subject, right? Share your thoughts, your comments. We want to hear from you. Talk to us. If you're listening on the radio, you can send through your messages on +27 73 470 3520. That's +27 73 470 3520. Or you could find us if you are joining us on YouTube, on Facebook. Drop a comment in the chat box, and we'll be able to engage each other this morning to say, looking at the challenges of yesteryear, is it something that we need to fix even perhaps? Because most likely where we had a problem is no longer where we are today, right? We're talking about these challenges that beset Christianity, for example, in yesteryear, because of the issues it was dealing with, or it was presented the way it was presented by those who were propagating it. And we are saying, do we still need to fix those? I mean, you talk about, for example, the Dark Ages and how Christianity was responsible for the loss of lives of millions of people. Do we say we need to fix that today? Because Christianity is not in the business of doing that today. Or some of these things we just learn from and we move forward and ensure that we don't repeat those mistakes. And if there's reparations or apologies or whatever, that's what we give, but not necessarily that we want to fix. Talk about secularism. How are they faring in those circles as well? Is it something that they need to address and fix and correct? And in correcting, are we correcting to the right way? Or we're now saying, no, because this side was disadvantaged, therefore the other side must also now be advantaged? Is that how we are dealing with the matters? And so we wanted to have a chat about that as we have a conversation this morning, and looking forward to your input as well, like I said, on those particular contact details in the chat box if you're on the stream, or on the WhatsApp line if you're joining us on.
Hi, Derek.
Hi, Mdala. How are you? Can you?
I'm all right. I'm not so sure what's happening with the camera, but
no, it's okay. I guess we'll have to just continue like this then, so that we're able to get the content out.
So. Looking at the time, yes.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Thank you so much once again, Mdala, for joining us this Sabbath, and happy Sabbath to you and yours. Trusting the week was good.
Happy Sabbath to you. Yes, the week was wonderful.
We praise God for that. We praise God for that. So, Mdala, we are looking today at this concept of addressing in our Prophecy Today feature issues of speculation, issues of fragmentization of factions across Christianity in the past years. Religion, as we know it, dominates world politics. I mean, ever since the days of Israel being born, and you had the first monarchy. It was not really just a monarchy; it was a theocentric monarchy where God was still in charge, even though there was a king. So religion still dominates. I know today we're trying to separate church and state, but we can still very much feel the pull of religion, even in the political systems, more than people may want to agree. Is this not the case still today, or did it end off as it died down with those theocentric nations?
I believe it is the case still today because
Mhm.
when you look at religion, it's belief systems which then determine how people practice their life, as it were, how they interact with others on different levels,
Yeah.
whether be it in business, be it within the community space. So religion it is a part of who we are, and we
Yeah.
express it right across our areas of existence.
Mm.
So
And
that's still the case today. That's my view.
mhm, and should this be the case? Is this right? I mean, as Christians, sometimes we would want everybody to be Christian. I know, especially as Adventists, with some of our outlier principles, that we would want everybody that we know to be an Adventist. Oh, imagine if the whole world was Adventist, no work on Sabbath, no one doing this and that, and we think that would be a better nation. Should that be the case, where religion should have this domination over world politics?
All right. So I think, from where I'm sitting, I just
Mhm.
want to kind of like bring a certain view when we
Okay.
talk about religion.
Mhm.
Um, because I believe that when we're talking about religion, we are talking about a belief system,
Okay.
a world view of
Mhm.
how
Mhm.
one must exist and interact with everything around him.
Mhm.
And I believe this then is based on principles, right? It's based on principles. Like, of course, for us, we look at the Decalogue as the charter of what our principles
Yes.
entail as
Yes.
Christians. And if you look at that, it's basically how you interact with God and how you interact with men. Basically, that's how Christ actually summarized the Ten Commandments. Love
Mhm.
God, love your fellow man.
Mhm.
And I don't think there's anyone who is against a principle which says you need to respect the property of somebody.
Yeah, true.
You don't steal, you understand,
True.
you don't lie, you don't murder. In fact, when we look at all these religious systems or belief systems around us, most of them, they actually promote what I would say the nine commandments, excluding
The
the
Sabbath one.
Sabbath
Yeah.
commandment.
Yeah.
So there is no controversy around that whole issue. We actually want, all of us, whichever worldview we come from, we actually want an environment which promotes those kind of principles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we look at it from that perspective, when we then say um, we would want others to be Adventist, you know, I
Mhm.
want us to view it from that perspective, to say
Mm.
actually that's what everybody wants in actual fact. I don't know if you hear what I'm saying.
I hear you. I hear you. But the challenge is sometimes we get people, and I hear you. You're trying to look at the points that we all agree on, and to say when you look at these points, surely if everybody was Christian, it'd be a better world. But sadly, when we talk religion, that's never the points that we are really administering and propagating and really pushing to the fore. What we do when we do that are those points of difference. So if an Adventist was to be in the front, the moment we hear somebody who is an Adventist in the public space in the forefront, we are wanting them to push the Sabbath. Forget everything else that you've just mentioned. When we hear somebody who is a Catholic and we are Catholics, is in the four, we want him to put Catholicism and turn the nation into Catholic beliefs. Evangelicals, Pentecostals, you name it, that's what they're propagating. So when we say that should be the case, which religion, because I mean, we're talking fragmentization here today, which religion would be the one that's in the fore? And the one going in the fore would mean the other is somewhat in the background,
In the
and
background,
yeah.
yes,
And not
yes.
only that, I mean, let's look at some other nations today and some laws that are being passed. We've got issues of homosexuality where it's been made legal because they're saying everybody in the state has a right to be here. Now, if you're a Christian, that's totally against the religion. Now we're going to say those people must have no rights in those countries because we are a religious nation and it must dominate politics. I'm just trying to find a space and frame where we can say religion is good for it to dominate politics.
All right. So I don't think religion must. Yeah, it's a
It's a difficult
we,
one.
we don't want religion. Okay, let me try to put it this way.
Yeah.
We don't want a religion to be legislated. That's what I would say.
Okay.
That would be a problem. That would be
All
a
right.
problem because it will then lead us to exactly what you are saying. To say that if we were to legislate it, then which one will then go? Which will be? We don't want state religion. Basically, I
Yeah.
believe each man must be given freedom of conscience. They must be given the right to decide what they want to believe in. And that's what God has actually given us. When He gives us free will, He gives us ability to choose. And no man must force another man to choose what they don't want to choose.
Yeah.
So in fact, I mean, I've looked at, for instance, let's look at the American situation where you got the Democrats and the Republicans, and the Republicans are known as the conservatives. You can even see it now when they are in power. They're like deleting everything which the Democrats put up. You understand? And
Yeah.
they want to kind of like make a Christian a national
Yeah.
religion.
Yeah.
And that is wrong. That is wrong. And legislated. That is not right.
Yeah, and I hear you, and funny enough, as you mentioned that, to tell that to the Christian who are celebrating, oh yes, they're now bringing back the Bible into the schools, which undertones you really would appreciate, but the way it's being done, like you're saying, you don't want it to be legislated because by then you are immediately trampling on other people's rights and their viewpoints. And I think religion is a matter of conscience, and every man must be free to choose what their conscience is dictating. And I want us to follow up this thought, Mdala, and thank you so much for bringing it to the fore. Issues such as the Sunday law, right, which is a conversation very, very timed and very nicely and appropriately. This issue of the mark of the beast, the issue of the seal of God. Talk to us about how this is something that is still having some major contentions in the Christian circles. Not everybody believes that this is the way to understand or interpret these things. Others are believing it's chips. Others are believing it is a day. Others are believing it's this and that. Talk to us about how this can be something that separates, but also how it ought to be a matter of concern.
It is a matter of concern, especially when we discuss it based on freedom of conscience. All right, because as we are saying now, the danger of Christians celebrating the exaltation of Christianity through the aid of the state is that aid can actually then turn against Christians, because as you are rightly saying, not all Christians believe the same thing. You understand? So we when we look at the eschatology, we have different views when it comes to eschatological issues. How we think the end times will pan out. As you are talking about the mark of the beast, we've got a plethora of explanations,
To
as
what
we
that
have
is.
already said it. So
Yeah.
you can see that you don't even have to go outside Christian God
Christianity. Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
the dilemma of legislating religion. You
Mm.
see, because within Christianity already, we do have the contention of the Sunday Sabbath contention, and if
Mm.
somebody says no, the Sabbath is on a Monday, everyone must go to church on Monday, and we legislate that, we're gonna have a problem.
Mm. Mm.
You
Mm.
understand? So it becomes an issue of concern when one person wants to exalt a particular point of belief and then force everyone to believe that, and worse, use state powers and institutions
Mm.
to enforce
Mm.
that. So
Mm.
that would be problematic. That's what I would say. So it is an issue of concern because of
Yeah.
those issues. Yeah.
The alternative, Mdala, and we were saying this in our introduction earlier on, the then swinging of the pendulum all across to the other side in trying to fix this challenge, which some would term overcorrection. Um, the,
Mhm.
the the other approach would be one you kind of mentioned when you were raising the issue of religion dominating politics and what should be the approach, and you're speaking on how religion is needed in our society as a guiding and
Mhm.
moral champion.
Compass.
Is that yes? People would then find themselves saying, then let's leave these points of difference where we have different interpretations. Let's then just drop those matters. They are not really what's important. Let's focus on what's unites us. Like you were saying, the matters where even the world would say, no, no, we agree here. The church is needed in this. I mean, when you talk about raising a community and bringing up children in a good name and in a good way, and then in listening to parents and so forth, I don't know anybody, even atheists and agnostics and believers in African traditional religion, no one would say, no, we don't want our children to listen to parents. Nobody would say that. So they would say, let's rather focus on that. I mean, the ecumenical movements tagline, right? Let's focus on the points that we agree on and leave these other ones. They're not so important anyway. What would be your response to that? To say, even in issues like we're saying of the mark of the beast, that no, if we are disagreeing on this, then maybe it's not so important. Let's just focus on that Christ is King, or that we need to be good people and service one another. Would that be a better approach and response to that?
Okay, I would say that I don't see anything wrong in finding each other in
Common
terms of
ground, yeah.
common ground.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it should not be used to muffle
Mm.
those who still have a different perspective on things. So
Okay.
it's like a you're having there's this term they use in the legal space.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I'll use it for illustration purposes.
All right. All right.
Trial within a trial. That
Mm.
kind of thing.
Mm.
So
Mm.
so so what's happening is that, fine, you don't want to legislate anything, because when you legislate, you are likely to offend. All right.
Mhm. Mhm.
But at the same time, you don't want to focus again just on commonalities. Because again, when you do that, you will still offend others who may want to express different views.
Mm.
You know?
Mm.
So in other words, you must just let religion be. Let people believe according to
Okay.
God, how God
Okay.
has given them. Let them exercise free conscience to express
Mm.
themselves
Mm.
and
Mm.
believe as their hearts dictate and their conscience dictate. As long as their belief systems do not promote violence and
Yeah.
subjugation of other nations
Yeah.
or other people.
Yeah.
That's my view.
No, 100%. I think that's very key. I totally appreciate that. Maybe let's wrap it up with almost an echo of what you're just speaking about, Mdala. We're talking about race politics, gender politics, ideology wars, all causing serious strain, even in the church, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything that can be done at individual level about developments that we see in the world, in higher church echelons? Can we do something at an individual world? Should we just accept, or should we? I mean, like we're seeing in the um, uh, 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 I think Madagascar is currently the one going through this, where the Gen Zs are revolting against the government, and I think the president was forced to disband government because he was like, the young people are like, no, we don't want this, and we're tired of this kind of a system. Is that the option that we must fall for in the Christian church, to say, hey, this year cannot be happening in our circles. Let's revolt against the. What should be the response from an individual space, Mdala?
All right. So I think, what's interesting is that the church itself has got a system of governance, as you say, and their leaders and their
Yeah.
followers.
Yeah.
That is a given. And there are instances where there are excesses in terms of what leaders do, especially when they do not maintain the mandate according to the word of God, which they've been given in terms of leading. So, should our response to those deficiencies be protest and all that? I think what should happen is that, like for instance, with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, we've got a structured way of response when it comes
Yeah.
to issues,
Yeah.
whereby whereby we can actually, in fact, we are one of the most democratic churches. For instance, people can express themselves through business meetings. The local church has power. Maybe we need to educate ourselves as to say, as members of the church, what can we do? We can actually start processes from a local church level, which can impact even offices like a general conference, But I want to say something. There is something about how God deals with apostasy, especially from a leadership perspective. Let's look at the issue of Saul and David. Do you realize that Saul was a rejected king who ruled for over 20 years, but he was a rejected king?
Still rejected. Okay.
And God leaves that system, and he says, I'm going to go and find a man after my own heart. And he raises up David. But Saul remains there in the throne for over
As the
20 years.
king. David is now
You
the new king, but he's still submitting to this old king, this rejected king.
What am I trying to say? I'm trying
Yeah.
to say, from my perspective, I think there are things we can do using the church system to try and correct things in a peaceful and respectful way. Then there's a situation where God then intervenes and actually raises leaders, is even even outside the normal structure of the church. So that is possible. So that would be my response on that one.
No, certainly. Thank you, Mtala. And I like how you're saying there are these processes and protocols. Another approach we've noticed, especially in dealing with some of these challenges, we spoke about race, we spoke about gender, especially on the gender one. This is quite a hot topic in some of the circles. Talk about the ordination of women, for example, into offices, especially in the theological space. That the world church will have a position, for example, but other individuals, especially at a local church level or at a conference level or even at a division level, would then say, no, guys, we hear you, but we are feeling like you are still very much in the old way or in the challenging way or the way that we don't agree with. We're going to go this way. We allow you to do what you do. We're not going to revolt against what you're saying, but we're going to go this way, which in essence, quote unquote, is a revolt in its own. Would that be a better approach to say, no, I don't want to impose it on the world church. I don't want to impose it on the rest of the church, but personally or in my local church or in my own family, we're going to go do this way, which might not be what the mainstream is saying. Is that okay?
Okay, I think it depends on the issues at stake. In my view, I think there are issues where the world church, like a GC, there has to be we need to have absolutes. In other words, we must have positions which we agree on and not create flexibility around those positions. Because sometimes when you create flexibility, it then, when the implementation happens, at division levels and lower levels, it's kind of like they are sneaking things in,
True. True.
and that doesn't look good. So I think it depends on what the issue is. There are issues which we need to have one voice on, because I
Mm,
would I
mm.
I agree that Seventh Day Adventism is not homogeneous.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
If you go to Eswatini, there are certain nuances that are there that
That
are
are unique to that
peculiar
area.
to that particular place, you
Certainly.
know, but which do not necessarily diverge from being Seventh Adventist. You understand
Mm,
what I'm saying?
mm,
So
mm,
there are
mm,
certain things which we can have flexibility, but there are issues that are which we must maintain as absolutes,
mm, mm.
and keep them as absolutes.
Certainly. As you were speaking there, I was reminded, I had this picture of Caleb and Joshua as they come back from spying Canaan as per the Lord's
Mm.
command. And then they've got a report that is in line with God's command. And then the rest of the nation and the rest of the camp is overtaken by emotion and fear.
Yes, yes.
And they were the ones with the right, but because the camp was saying one thing, they had to say, it's okay, we will take our word, even though we know it's the right one, and follow
Mm,
the
mm,
camp because we
mm,
won't sow
mm,
discord in the camp. And I hear what you're saying, Mtala, that sometimes there are moments where you must, even though the camp is slow, go with
mm.
it. There will come a time where they will see the truth instead of saying, no, 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 I'm the right one. I will champion my cause and make everyone see that the rest of the camp is very much wrong. No, no. You might end up actually being the one that is wrong by your approach to these things. And I totally understand what you're saying. Dala, thank you so much for just taking us through this conversation and understanding prophecy today. Any closing remarks you'd want to leave with just to wrap up this segment?
Well, thank you for having me. What I would say is that I think at the end of the day, even as much as we are talking about legislating religion and all that stuff, but we must
Mhm.
remember that our call is to pursue the truth,
Oh, yes.
and as revealed in God's word. That is our standard, and that's what we
Mhm.
stand for, and we don't have to compromise on that.
Mm, mm. Certainly, we don't have to compromise on that, that which is our standard. Thank you so much, Mtala. Appreciating your time today. May God bless you and a blessed Sabbath further.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's Elder Busani Mlilo talking to us this morning in our Prophecy Corner. And I hope that you had a lesson, you had an edification moment, and you had some wisdom granted you as you go into the rest of this day right there.
Adventist World Radio SIDmedia. We are not general practitioners. We are specialists in Bible-based content.